Okay, so we're going to dive straight into Bitcoin today and get straight into it after we've had our massive move to the upside today, which is now giving us a clearer direction of where the market wants to head, at least in the short term. Spoke about this low over here at 33K, potentially breaking at some point, but we're not sure exactly at the moment, if it's going to be now or at a later point in time. But because of the move today, it does look like we are set for a move to the upside. I'm going to give you those price targets today as well. Now, I don't think anyone was really predicting a move like this, especially in a day. A 15% candle to the upside from Bitcoin, is nothing to scoff at, and that is a massive move. Rarely do we see two zones on a chart which are so important and so well defined, which we are battling with at the moment. And you can see that, as soon as we broke down from here and we've had this bounce, we attacked 40K again. And we know we've spoken enough times that pretty much like 40K is the lowest volume area on the chart. And what do we say? Low volume, we have a smash straight through it, or we get harsh rejections, and this time we managed to smash straight through 40K. So where does that leave us at the moment? Now, the next level above us is a super clear, like 46K, right? We're basically attacking the lows of the previous range and where we got rejected from back in February the 10th at 45,700, 46K pretty much, let's round that up. So I do think that given the move that we've had at the moment, we are set for probably a move to the upside in the coming months to properly correct, this downside move that we've had. This move could have been enough, right? This move up to about 45K. But even if we are, like I said, in some sort of prolonged downtrend or bear market, we can still have massive moves to the upside. So don't forget that, okay? Now, we've also broken this trend line over here, okay, which is a massive trend line on the log scale, okay, and we've broken above it, closed outside at about 43K and change on the Monday, and that is an extremely bullish sign, in my opinion, that we're probably going to be moving higher. My upside targets for Bitcoin at this very moment in time, if we can continue this momentum, is going to be this price action over here at about 53K, 51K, which is the prior range high that we were back in December. So if we can break 46K, I'm pretty confident that however the market structure looks, is that we come up and we attack this zone over here. Now, interestingly enough, that zone is also somewhere in and around that 0.618 fib, and is also, if I just bring this up, the CME gap close at about $54,000. So that it would be my first port of call for Bitcoin to get to. I don't think that if we get above 46K, okay, then I don't think we have too much trouble getting any higher than that. And we've also seen, let me just get rid of the chart and clean that up, that when we've had impulsive moves from this area into that 46K region, we do tend to kind of move higher, and we can move quite impulsively to the upside. So just something to bear in mind. Now, the Fibonacci's on the daily have basically, all flipped bullish. We've basically moved above it, closed at that 43K level. And if we can consolidate at this area, maybe bounce off at 42K, which is somewhere in and around where we broke out from the trend line, and maybe we can bump and run this trend line and potentially move higher, is definitely a play that I'm looking out for. Now, in one of my previous videos where I spoke about Cardano, I spoke about how we were retesting some key previous areas of overhead resistance above us, and how moves comparatively looked weaker, therefore we were more likely to move to the downside, and we spoke about that 70 cent level. Now, just the reason that I'm bringing that up, right, is that if you look at how we moved from this zone before, where we basically kind of grinded our way up to about 46, okay, and now we move back down, corrected, the move to the upside from here, okay, is a lot more impulsive and a lot stronger, which has also given me some indication that this move probably has a lot more momentum, and this is probably not likely the top. So, you know, something to bear in mind. And experience as well is that when we test levels a fourth time, okay, they do typically tend to break. So if we can move into this 45k region, I am definitely expecting 46 to break, and then we can look for another impulsive move to the upside. Now, going back to that, what I just mentioned there about kind of having 4 touches and 4 tests of an area, you can see here on the fourth time that we reached this trend line that we really impulsively broke out. So again, that just is telling me now that, you know, there is going to be some continuation to the upside from this move. Does not mean FOMO into Bitcoin at the moment. If you are entering this as a trade, or you're looking to take this as a play, you know, obviously make sure that you have stop losses in place and you have well-defined risk, etc., etc. You know, you don't need me to tell you that, because, you know, there is still a lot of work to be done. Whilst I think this move looks really, really nice, this is not an, you know, it's just not a sort of candle that you see all the time, okay, where we get this massive spike to the upside. But also, if you look at this on the weekly, we are still below a lot of key moving averages on the weekly, and we do have, you know, a lot of work to do from here, and we still have that weekly 21 EMA right here at about 45. So I would suspect that if we do move to the upside from here, okay, and we break 46, that will probably coincide with some sort of violent break of the you know, the EMA 21 on the weekly. So that's definitely an area to look out for. So if we start to basically move above the EMA 21, that's probably going to coincide with some sort of break of 46k is what I would expect, okay? So just watch out for that. The key level for me is, like I said, 46k. We're getting a lot of confluent reasons that if we can break that, okay, then that would be a really nice indication that we can move higher. And maybe the way that this might look over the next few weeks or the next month or so is that what you really want to see for Bitcoin to be bullish here is to move up above the 21 EMA, come back down at some point, retest it, and then move higher in a similar way that we basically moved above it over here, okay, back in August of last year, and then we came back, retested it, and then went on our merry way and moved higher. So that's basically what we want to be seeing from Bitcoin at the moment for our, you know, for the bulls to take over and for prices to charge. Now is a time, if you haven't already, it's a good idea to like the video down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That support really helps me out and lets me know that you want me to continue doing these sort of videos. So go ahead and like the video down below if you haven't already. Now, if we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is actually a super important chart in my opinion, we've spoken about this all summer. I know I've harped on about this so many times, but this is why I said to you, Bitcoin is likely going to be the better play here, whether we go up or we go down, because if we go up, likely Bitcoin is going to lead the rally, and if we go down, it protects you against that volatility. And we've seen both of those things play out as the Bitcoin dominance has gone up. So we've seen we've had this triple bottom and this support zone over here, and you know, Bitcoin dominance is back at 44%, sorry, and I'm still anticipating, you know, an attack of somewhere in this region over here, about 47%, and you know, we can definitely move higher than that, but I do see us moving higher, so I do think as well, like I said before, that the better play is still going to be holding Bitcoin, because remember, if you are holding altcoins that are not outperforming Bitcoin or Ethereum, Bitcoin in particular at this moment, okay, then why are you holding them? I wouldn't be taking too much risk here, okay? You know, if we get some sort of Bitcoin mania phase and we get that opportunity where we can trade some of our Bitcoin for altcoins, you know, that time will probably come. But I still don't think that play is happening at the moment. You know, there definitely are a few outliers. If we take a look at, you know, Terra Luna, for example, it's been on an absolute tear, right? And you know, pretty much almost doubled in price. It has, you know, since the lows that we had, you know, just last month. But you know, most of the altcoins, you know, if we look at, for example, Cardano, like they've just been completely slammed, not only versus the USD, but also versus Bitcoin. So, you know, you have to be very, you have to pick and choose your coins really, really well. And again, like look at Solana, you know, a lot of these coins have been like totally smashed down. So if you are going to hold altcoins, you have to be very selective. But in my opinion, I still think this is a time where you want to be Bitcoin, or at least Bitcoin and Ethereum heavy. Okay, you want to stick to the majors. Speak about the dollar index, which is the DXY, quite a lot. And we basically say that when the dollar is doing pretty strong and we're uptrending, this typically puts pressure on, you know, a lot of the risk on assets such as the S&P, the Nasdaq, and in particular Bitcoin. But you know, we're just starting to see some sort of patterns here, and maybe a zone where we might be able to reverse on the DXY, which might be able to give Bitcoin a little bit of that fuel to, you know, make a surge, you know, both to the upside. Okay, from here, if we take the impulsive move, right, from March, COVID March low, down to the low that we got in January at the start of last year, right, we're literally exactly at the 0.618 fib. So from a technical target, you know, we're definitely at a point where we've hit some key resistance here on the DXY. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on this to see if this is going to start, you know, moving lower. And do we have, you know, some sort of swing failure pattern? Not just, let me just get rid of this, not just over here where we broke above it and came back down below. We broke above it again, okay, at about $97.7, and now we're just starting to see, you know, a potential, you know, at least sideways movement over here, you know, on the DXY. And if the DXY can start taking out some of these lows, okay, at about $94, this is likely going to be strong indication that Bitcoin is probably going to move higher and we can make that next surge. Okay, you know, the DXY doesn't have to come all the way down here and get to, like, you know, break the lows that we got, you know, at the back end of last year, at about $90, $89. But, you know, it does give you that indication that if we start to roll over here on the DXY, okay, and we start to just like correct some of this impulsive move, because we've basically been moving up for the best part of a year, then like I said, just look for that to give Bitcoin and some of the other equity markets, you know, some room to maneuver. Now, the last thing that I wanted to say, to mention for Bitcoin, right, was we had such a crazy last day of the month that the monthly candle has actually turned, you know, fairly bullish. And we talk about, you know, 21 exponential moving averages as key momentum indicators, and we've bounced off this twice. So we've had some nice wicks to the downside in both January and February, and we're now holding this. So, you know, is this something that is going to show us that Bitcoin has some legs to move further on and the bull market is not yet over? So that's another thing to keep in mind. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more clarity with what to look out for this week. And for me, as soon as we broke 40K, that is a long signal for me, because as soon as we broke that, that's a low volume area, which is going to, you know, as soon as we broke through that and slice through that to the upside, it's giving me an indication that we want to move higher. And if we break 46K, then we're moving higher still. I'm targeting $54,000, $53,000 if we can break 46,000. For me, as I said before, okay, that for me is, if we can reach that area, is going to be the real test as to whether that is some sort of massive dead cat bounce and we roll back over, which would suggest, you know, bearish market structure, or if we have the legs to move higher. I always hold my spot account, and that's something that I never really touch. So if Bitcoin goes to the moon and it goes to $500,000, then we're all going to be rich and we're going to be buying our own islands. So, you know, either way, I am, you know, more than happy for crypto to go up. I'm just not certain still that, you know, this low over here is the low. But if I'm wrong on that, and my base case is not correct, no problem, right? That's why you have to hedge yourself in many different scenarios. So you can have, for me, like I said, positions where I'm trading and looking for the key levels. But, you know, stuff like your spot, you have to, in my opinion, hold some spot because, you know, it's too risky to not own Bitcoin, in my opinion. Like the video if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one, where I will be doing some altcoin videos this week to give you some updates, because we hit some really nice key levels. I think I've probably been analyzing the altcoins, funnily enough, better in terms of, you know, areas of value and where those are going with Bitcoin, because, you know, some of this volatility has been pretty crazy. But yeah, like the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.